How's it going, everybody? So we have a fun review today as we're talking Him. Realistically, I don't think you could have a movie more catered to my specific interests. I've been a lifelong die-hard NFL fan, particularly the Baltimore Ravens, and horror is my favorite genre. So seeing the horror realm mixed with football in general was a no-brainer. This was going to be one of my most anticipated movies of the year. Whether we want to openly accept it or not, there is this nature of horror attached to football regardless, which I'd say director Justin Tipping taps quite well into within his visual storytelling through the usage of these infrared sequences, these grisly x-rays that pop in here and there, along with the various different ways that Tipping frames his shots. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be comparing this to Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele's name is slapped all across the marketing, even though he's a producer. There's probably a lot of people that are going to assume he is the one directing it. In this instance, I think it would make more sense, largely because you can see the similarities between Tipping's direction and Jordan Peele's. But Jordan Peele is not the director. We're not going to have a Henry Selick Nightmare Before Christmas situation, because a lot of people still think Tim Burton directed that. On top of the creepiness factor, I don't know how anybody could live in this compound that we spend the majority of the movie in because of the fact that it's so haunting and adds a lot to the uneasiness in the atmosphere. That uneasy feeling is where most of the horror foundation is built upon. Each and every moment of violence Cade's a part of or witness to over time gets more and more jarring. One in particular that really got under my skin is the tension rising. Guy keeps getting hit repeatedly in the face from a jugs machine that gradually just made me more and more uncomfortable because it goes on for quite a while. Realistically though, a lot of Him's success rests on the shoulders of both Tyriq Withers and Marlon Wayans' performances, and they both do an exceptional job feeling this mentorship rivalry type of situation they have going on. The kind of dynamic we see a lot in all of sports, most predominantly in the NFL. The young, hungry, up-and-coming quarterback versus the aging veteran trying to hold on to his job. Narratively, this is where Him is at its strongest in my opinion. The sequences following Cade taken under Isaiah's wing being shown through many gruesome, grueling sequences, and the depths you have to be willing to go to be considered the greatest of all time, along with the many sacrifices you have to make to stay the greatest for so long. Since I saw his performance and I know what you did last summer and the stuff that we saw in Him, I really felt like Tyriq Withers showed a lot of potential for him to be his big breakout role. Think similar to Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out. Truly, he holds his own against Wayans, perfectly conveying all of the nuances of a young athlete with so much resting on his shoulders. The idea of someone that has been groomed since his childhood to become the greatest athlete of all time. Seeing him struggle to handle the pressures of sports, fame, and the messed up things he's confronted with. Training with someone as unpredictable as Isaiah White, who in this universe has won 8 championships. Between the fact that they gave him one more than Tom Brady and the one poster that very much feels reminiscent to Tom Brady, a lot of the symbolism around the character does feel very much like Tom Brady. If Tom Brady did all this stuff behind the scenes, you know, more power to him, I guess. Because of the fact we don't see Marlon Wayans take on too many serious roles, he'll do one every now and then, you know, Requiem for a Dream. He was Will's father in the Bel Air series on Peacock. Most of the time we know him as this really hilarious figure. So roles like these make me appreciate Marlon Wayans when he decides to tackle serious, complex characters. There's a really interesting duality to the character of Isaiah White. On the surface, he's charming, cracking jokes, but that mask often slips, revealing a dark, more sinister side, maintaining a lifestyle and image for his fans for so long. And every so often, you see this sadness boil up to the surface, where you feel bad because it's clear that football has consumed his entire existence. Thankfully, most of the movie is wrapped up around Withers and Wayans, so there isn't as much to say about the supporting cast, but I will admit, I was not a big fan of Julia Fox's character. I get the intention, this vapid, campy trophy wife, but she mostly ended up feeling irritating every time she had any screen time. If there's anything I'm thankful for, it's the fact that she does not have a lot of screen time to complain about. What I ended up finding frustrating about Him, by and large, is the cracks in the story really start to show roughly about halfway through as far as what the story is trying to say with its symbolism. There are a lot of different references to the fact that these athletes are seen as gods, which you definitely cannot miss because the religious symbolism is very heavy-handed. I mean, for Christ's sake, one of the made-up teams in this movie is called the Saviors. Then your usual narratives that you see with anything related to football about how these players can be chewed up and forgotten and replaced very easily. But it's never made clear exactly what it's trying to say about all of these different topics, especially since the last act goes pretty off the rails. Out of the 3 acts, I do think the first 2 are incredibly strong, and 3 is going to be the one that is more divisive amongst audiences. Some people probably aren't going to like it because it goes off the rails so much, and some people are going to enjoy it because of the fact that it goes off the rails. It gets pretty wild and bloody without giving too much away. say. However, I don't know if the ending fits in coherently with what exactly the messaging of the film is supposed to be. While I definitely would recommend him based on the creepy descent into the seedy underbelly of what athletes are willing to sacrifice in an effort to be the greatest, there's certain elements of the story's execution, predominantly in the third act, that hold me back from completely loving the movie. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed it. It's also relatively short. It's only a little over an hour and a half long. It's just that there's so many other fantastic horror movies that we've had so far this year. I don't know if necessarily I would say it is on the same pedestal as some of the best we've had. Still, it was pretty fun. If I had to give it a rating, because people are going to ask about that, I'd probably put it right now currently at about a 3 out of 5. I'd maybe put it a little bit higher or a little bit lower depending on how I feel after a rewatch. Either way, once you get a chance to check out him in theaters, make sure you share your thoughts down below. What'd you think of the film? Did you like the film? Did you not like the film? Thank you guys. As always, check out videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure to like on the video and also subscribe to the channel to update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.